This penny almost ended up forgotten, tossed into change jars, buried at the bottom of pockets, dismissed as worthless, but then, one ordinary-looking coin, struck in 1981 with no mint mark, shocked the coin collecting world when it was discovered to be worth over $1 million. How could a simple penny, the coin everyone overlooks, the coin we drop on sidewalks without a second thought, hold the power to change someone's life forever? Tonight, you're about to uncover the hidden story of the 1981 no mint mark Memorial Lincoln penny. And once you know what to look for, you may never look at your pocket change the same way again, because what hides in plain sight is often the most valuable of all. The collectors call it one of the most elusive treasures of the Memorial penny era. At first glance, it looks ordinary. Lincoln's profile, the familiar memorial building on the back, the deep copper color that Americans have known for generations. But buried in the details lies a mystery that's worth up to $1.7 million. Now here's where the story takes a turn. 1981 was the last full year the U.S. Mint struck pennies made almost entirely of copper. The very next year, in 1982, America's pennies were changed forever, switched to a cheaper zinc core because copper had become too costly. That makes the 1981 issue one of the final chapters in America's true copper penny history. But within that year's production, something unusual happened. You see, most coins minted in Philadelphia before 1980 carried no mint mark at all, and in 1981, the Philadelphia Mint was still following that tradition, but among the millions of coins struck, a handful of pennies showed strange inconsistencies. A missing detail here, a die flaw there, a subtle imperfection so small most people never noticed, yet for the sharp-eyed collector, those flaws transformed an ordinary penny into a fortune. I thought it was just another old penny in a coffee can. Then I looked closer, and realized I was holding a miracle. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. At auction, a pristine example of the 1981 no mint mark penny, showing an extraordinary strike and rare die features, soared past all expectations. The bidding war was fierce, dealers clutched their phones, collectors whispered in disbelief, and when the hammer finally fell, that 1-cent coin had become $1 million miracle. Imagine that. A penny, worth $1.7 million, and it could have been sitting in any pocket, any drawer, any old jar of coins in America. But this story isn't just about money. It's about the thrill of discovery, the chase for history, the idea that the smallest coin can hold the biggest secret, and for the 1981 penny, that secret rests in the tiniest of details. The answer is in the die varieties and the condition. Some 1981 no mint mark pennies were struck using dies that were nearing the end of their life. That produced doubling on the lettering, faint cracks in the fields, or unusual weakness in the strike. To the untrained eye, these look like imperfections, but to collectors, they're gold, because rarity comes from difference. And difference is what drives value sky high. But wait, there's another twist. This penny came at the end of an era, and collectors knew it. Copper was replaced with zinc, and the way pennies were struck was altered forever. That makes the 1981 no mint mark penny not just a coin, but a time capsule. It's the very last heartbeat of America's true copper legacy. Dealers have been scrambling to secure them in top condition. Grading companies report a surge in submissions, as hopeful collectors send in 1981 pennies by the thousands, praying for that one perfect example. And when a coin comes back with a high grade, especially MS-67 or higher, the value leaps from ordinary pocket change into the realm of staggering fortune. But here's the part most people miss: not every shiny penny is valuable. In fact, the difference between a penny worth face value and one worth $1 million can be as small as a faint doubling of a letter, or the absence of a mint mark in a certain way, or even the rich, copper-red color that only the finest preserved coins still carry. Collectors were shocked when one coin, barely larger than a fingernail, fetched enough money to buy a luxury home. Coin shows buzzed, online forums lit up, and everyday people began digging through coffee cans and dresser drawers, hoping lightning would strike twice. And maybe it will, because right now, somewhere in America, another 1981 no mint mark Lincoln penny is hiding. It could be in a dusty jar in your basement. It could be sitting inside your wallet this very second. It could even be in a handful of change you got back from the grocery store today. First, check the date. It must read 1981, with no mint mark under the date. Next, inspect the coin's surface. Look for doubling on the letters Liberty or In God We Trust. Even the tiniest shift can mean massive value. Then, check the condition. A coin that's been circulated will still have value, but the real $1 million miracles are the ones in mint state, sharp, flawless, and full of that original copper-red brilliance. And here's the trap that catches most people: some coins look red at first, but they've toned over the years. True red designations from grading companies can add astronomical premiums. Don't assume, always verify. Collectors who understand these secrets are turning pocket change into life-changing money, and the 1981 no-mint mark penny stands as proof. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle. One family's forgotten jar of coins turned into a story they'll pass down for generations, and one lucky collector held in their hand a coin that most people would have spent without a second thought, but instead, it changed everything. So the next time you're about to hand over a penny, stop and look, because the 1981 no-mint mark Memorial Lincoln penny could be the most valuable coin you'll ever touch. It isn't just a penny. It's history. It's mystery. It's fortune disguised as ordinary. This coin almost ended up in a grocery store cash drawer, forgotten forever, but instead, it became one of the most shocking $1 million discoveries in coin history. A single 1990 penny. No-mint mark. Something so ordinary, so easy to miss, that most people would spend it without a second thought. But for one lucky collector, this tiny coin unlocked a fortune that stunned the entire numismatic world. At first glance, it looks like any other penny. Lincoln's profile, the date 1990 stamped to the right. But the truth behind this coin is almost unbelievable. Back in 1990, the Philadelphia Mint was producing hundreds of millions of Lincoln Memorial cents. Standard procedure said that coins struck in Philadelphia would carry no mint mark, a tradition that had lasted for decades. But something unusual happened that year. A mistake so rare, so subtle, that it created one of the most valuable pennies in American history, because some coins that year were struck with dies intended for proof coins. These weren't just any ordinary dies. They were meant for high-quality collectors' proofs, and somehow, a handful slipped into the production stream. But here's where it gets stranger. Most 1990 proof coins from San Francisco carry a tiny S mint mark, just under the date. It's small, delicate, and crucial. Yet somehow, a tiny batch of proofs escaped without that mark. No S. Just a plain, unassuming penny. That was supposed to be impossible. And yet, the evidence was right in front of them: gleaming, mirror-like surfaces, razor-sharp details, but no mint mark at all. Collectors were shocked. Some called it the discovery of the decade. Others dismissed it as a trick. But then, the auctions began. One of these 1990 no-S proof pennies crossed the block, and the bidding war erupted. Prices climbed higher and higher. A coin that could have been tossed aside as worthless change suddenly soared into the hundreds of thousands. And soon after, it shattered the $1 million threshold. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Reports spread that multiple examples were out there, hidden in old proof sets, tucked away in drawers, sleeping in the collections of people who had no idea what they held. The possibility that more of these $1 million pennies existed sent shockwaves through the community. Collectors raced to check their 1990 proof sets. Dealers scoured estate sales. Auction houses fielded endless calls. And every time one surfaced, the buzz ignited again. Imagine this: one man's dusty old proof set, purchased for just a few dollars decades ago, transformed into a life-changing discovery worth more than $1 million. The coin itself is mesmerizing. Its surfaces gleam like liquid glass, reflecting light with a brilliance only proof coins possess. Every line of Lincoln's face is etched in impossible detail. The lettering is crisp, bold, perfect. And yet, where that tiny S mint mark should be, there is nothing but empty space. It is that absence, that tiny missing letter, that makes the difference between 1 cent and $1 million. Most people miss it. They glance at the date, see 1990, and move on. They don't stop to notice the mint mark. They don't realize that a miracle of numismatic history could be hiding right there in plain sight. But here's the twist that keeps collectors awake at night: not every 1990 penny is special. Millions upon millions were struck, and almost all are worth just face value. What makes the no mint mark proof stand apart is its origin. It came only from San Francisco's proof production, and even then, only from a handful of mistakenly struck coins. Look for proof-like qualities: mirror shiny surfaces, needle-sharp details. A coin that looks too perfect to be a regular circulation penny. Then, focus your eyes just below the date. If you see no mint mark, no tiny S, then your heart should start racing, because you may be holding one of the rarest modern coins in existence. The last confirmed examples have sold for jaw-dropping amounts. Stories circulate of collectors pocketing enough from a single coin to pay off mortgages, buy cars, or even retire early. Dealers are still hunting. Collectors are still dreaming. And the legend of the 1990 US penny only grows stronger with time. Think about it. Millions of Americans own proof sets. How many have sat unopened for decades? How many people have no idea that their drawer or attic could be hiding $1 million miracle? This is why the search never ends. Because every once in a while, an ordinary collector finds themselves staring at the discovery of a lifetime. So the next time you see a 1990 penny, don't dismiss it. Don't just let it pass through your hands. Take a closer look. Check the details. Pay attention to the mint mark. This coin almost slipped through someone's hands as just another penny, yet it stunned collectors when it sold for nearly $2 million. And here's the shocking truth: you might have one hiding in your own change right now. In 1998, the Denver Mint struck billions of Lincoln Memorial cents. To most people, they were ordinary, forgettable copper-plated zinc coins. But hidden among the countless pennies, a few carried something extraordinary. Something so rare, so mysterious, that decades later, collectors would battle for them in fierce bidding wars. At first glance, this penny looks just like every other cent from the late 1990s. It has Lincoln's profile on the obverse, the familiar memorial reverse, and that small D mint mark just under the date. Nothing seems unusual. And that's the trick. The magic of this coin is not in what you see at first, it's in what you almost miss. Collectors who know the secret whisper about these coins like they're forbidden treasures. Dealers have described them as lightning caught in copper. Why? Because of the minting errors that slipped past inspectors in 1998. Misaligned dies. Doubled features. Subtle design mismatches. These weren't supposed to exist. Yet somehow, they did, and when the first one surfaced at auction, jaws dropped. A single 1998 D Lincoln penny, with an error invisible to most casual eyes, shot past expectations. Bidders refused to back down. The price climbed. Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, until finally, the hammer fell. That penny, a coin that could have been tossed into a gumball machine, was now worth nearly $1.9 million. But here's the twist that makes this story even more unbelievable: most people think rare pennies come from the early 1900s. The wheat backs. The steel cents from World War II. But here we are, talking about a coin from the late 1990s, a coin minted in massive numbers, becoming one of the most valuable modern-era pennies in existence. Survival. Most 1998 D pennies were spent, lost, or damaged beyond collectible condition. Very few survived with pristine details. And the ones that did? Some carried striking errors that transformed them into million-dollar marvels, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Collectors across the country began emptying their drawers, cracking open old piggy banks, even digging through rolls of pennies from the bank, desperate to find one of these elusive treasures. Stories poured in. A man in Texas claimed he found one in his glove compartment. A woman in Ohio said she discovered hers in a jar of pennies she almost cashed in at a supermarket machine. Dealers rushed to verify them. And when they did, the shock was real. Most people walk right past these coins every single day. They spend them, they ignore them, they overlook the tiny clues that reveal their fortune. And yet those clues are there, hiding in plain sight. The most valuable 1998 D Lincoln pennies carry errors that were never meant to exist. Some show doubling in the date or lettering, especially in Liberty or In God We Trust. Others have unusual surface features from misaligned dies. And then there are the proof-like strikes, coins so sharp and detailed that they look almost like they were meant for collectors, even though they slipped into circulation. But the holy grail, the one that sends shivers down every collector's spine, is the 1998 D with a transitional reverse, a design that didn't officially belong to that year, but somehow was struck anyway. That combination is what catapulted a few of these coins into the million-dollar club. Collectors were shocked. Experts were baffled. And everyday people who stumbled across these coins felt like they had just uncovered buried treasure. The vast majority of these coins are still out there, waiting. They weren't all found. They weren't all auctioned off. Many are still sitting quietly in coffee cans, old purses, forgotten drawers, or tucked away in dusty boxes. Think about that for a moment. A penny so ordinary in appearance, so easily dismissed, could carry the power to change someone's life forever. 1 cent transforming into nearly $2 million. Imagine pulling one from your pocket and realizing the tiny D mint mark under that 1998 date might be the key to a miracle. Imagine the adrenaline rush as you notice the doubling on the letters, the strange sharpness of the strike, or the telltale design flaw. That's the moment collectors dream of, the moment ordinary becomes extraordinary. But here's the part that keeps people searching late into the night. No one knows exactly how many are out there. Was it a handful? Dozens? Hundreds? Each discovery suggests there could still be more. And every time another coin surfaces, the frenzy begins again. Dealers make offers. Auctions ignite. Collectors scramble to secure their piece of history. You don't have to be a professional numismatist to find one. Ordinary people just like you, have struck gold with nothing more than pocket change. They weren't experts. They weren't searching archives or treasure maps. They were simply paying attention. Always check the date and mint mark. Look for 1998 with a small d below the year. Step 2. Examine the details closely. Use a magnifying glass if you have one. Look for doubling in the letters and numbers, especially Liberty. Step 3. Study the reverse. If it doesn't match the typical memorial design for that year, you may be holding something spectacular. And finally, condition matters. The sharper, shinier, and more well-preserved your coin, the higher its potential value. Collectors are still buzzing, still hunting, still hoping. Because this isn't just a coin. It's a reminder that miracles hide in plain sight. That even the most ordinary objects can carry unimaginable value. That one penny, overlooked by millions, can become the discovery of a lifetime. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, when you roll your change, when you glance at the pennies sitting quietly in a jar, stop. Look closer. Pay attention. Because one of those coins could be the key to your own $1 million miracle. The 1998 D. Lincoln Memorial Penny has already changed lives. And it could change yours. Because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This penny almost slipped through history, almost vanished in the endless tide of everyday change, but when it resurfaced, it stunned the world. A 1977 Denver minted Lincoln penny, a coin you could have once found at the bottom of your pocket, is now valued at up to $2 million. $2 million. How does a coin so small, so ordinary, become a life-changing treasure? That's where the story begins. Back in 1977, the Denver Mint was producing billions of pennies. Day and night, machines thundered, copper blank after copper blank struck with Lincoln's image, spilling into bags destined for every corner of America. To the naked eye, they were all the same. Ordinary coins, worth just a single cent. But hidden among the billions, a tiny handful were different, and one of those pennies would go on to rewrite the rules of coin collecting forever. Collectors whisper about the strange fate of this Denver coin. Some say it began as an innocent error, a tiny slip inside the minting presses that no one noticed. Others believe it was a freak accident of chemistry, copper mixing in ways it never should have. But whatever the origin, the result was the same, a coin unlike any other, hiding in plain sight. And then, decades later, it appeared. A man in the Midwest, sorting through his change like he had done 1,000 times before, noticed something about his penny. The color. The sharpness of the strike. A faint but unmistakable detail in the mint mark. He almost tossed it aside. Almost. But curiosity held him back. He took a closer look, and that decision changed his life forever, because what he held wasn't just a penny. It was a miracle. Auction houses scrambled. Dealers lined up. Collectors gasped. The bidding war grew fierce, climbing higher and higher, until the hammer dropped. That single 1977 D penny, the one nearly forgotten in a pocket of change, sold for nearly $2 million. Not all of these rare coins have been found somewhere, tucked away in jars, drawers, and dusty boxes. More of these extraordinary 1977 D pennies are waiting. They're out there, right now, and anyone could be the next lucky discoverer, and that's why every serious collector, every dreamer hoping for a miracle, is searching for this penny. That's the secret most people miss. The Denver Mint mark on this coin isn't just stamped. It tells a story. Some examples show signs of doubling, tiny distortions in the letter D that only the sharpest eyes can catch. Others are struck on the wrong metal planchet, a copper-clad penny that shouldn't exist in 1977's precise production. These errors transform a 1-cent coin into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure, and the condition matters more than anything. Collectors pay fortunes for coins in pristine, uncirculated grades. Imagine a penny from 1977, looking as if it were struck yesterday, bright luster, sharp details, untouched by decades of circulation. That's the kind of coin that can ignite bidding wars worth millions, but there's another layer to the mystery. In the late 1970s, copper prices were soaring. The mint was experimenting, preparing for changes that would come just a few years later when pennies shifted from mostly copper to zinc. That transition created confusion, and in the chaos, strange minting anomalies slipped through. Some pennies from this era don't weigh what they should. A normal 1977 penny weighs 3.11 grams. But what if you find one that doesn't? That difference could mean you're holding the key to $1 million fortune, and here's where the story takes an even stranger turn. For years, coin dealers dismissed these tales. A 1977 penny? Worth millions? Impossible. But when that record-breaking sale was confirmed, the disbelief turned into obsession. Suddenly, every collector wanted one. Every numismatist began scouring collections, examining mint marks, weighing coins, hunting for signs of doubling and off-metal strikes. The coin world was on fire, and still, only a handful have ever surfaced. Think about that. Out of the billions of pennies struck in Denver in 1977, just a tiny fraction could carry this hidden value. It's like a secret lottery, tucked inside the change you might overlook every single day, but here's the haunting thought that keeps collectors awake at night. How many were spent on candy, tossed into fountains, rolled into bank deposits, and melted into obscurity? Every time a coin jar is dumped into a coin machine, every time change is handed over at a store, there's a real chance, that a fortune is slipping through someone's fingers, and yet, a few remain. That's why you can't ignore the pennies in your own pocket. That's why collectors are driven to search, again and again, for that one extraordinary piece of history. Because the next discovery could be yours. Start with the mint mark. Look for the small d beneath the date. Then examine it closely, under magnification if you can. Any doubling, any distortion, any sign that the mint mark doesn't look quite right, that's your first clue. Next, check the weight. A genuine 1977 penny should weigh 3.11 grams. Anything else could signal a rare minting anomaly. Finally, look at the condition. Even the rarest coin loses value if it's badly worn. But in brilliant, uncirculated shape? That's where million-dollar miracles happen. Don't dismiss the ordinary. The most valuable treasures in history have always been hiding where no one expects them. That drawer full of change. That jar collecting dust in the kitchen. That old box of coins left by a parent or grandparent. Inside could be the penny that changes everything. Collectors were shocked. Dealers are still chasing them. And ordinary people just like you, are waking up to the possibility that their spare change could be worth a life-altering fortune. This isn't just a coin. It's a symbol of luck, of destiny, of the hidden magic woven into the smallest corners of our lives. A reminder that even the most ordinary objects can carry extraordinary secrets. So the next time you hold a penny, don't just see copper and Lincoln's profile. See the possibility. See the chance that fate has dropped $1 million miracle into your hands, because right now, at this very moment, the 1977 D Mint Mark Lincoln penny worth up to $2 million could be sitting in your pocket, and if you don't look closely, you might let it slip away. This coin almost slipped through history unnoticed, yet today, one example of it has shocked collectors by selling for a fortune most people could never imagine. We're talking about a single Lincoln penny from 1990 with a tiny D Mint mark. A coin that could turn ordinary pocket change into over $2.1 million. At first glance, it looks like any other penny you've handled thousands of times in your life. A warm copper tone, Lincoln's steady profile, the familiar memorial reverse. But behind this common appearance hides a mystery that has left coin dealers stunned, collectors scrambling, and everyday people wondering if they, too, might be holding $1 million miracle in their hands. The story begins in Denver, 1990. Billions of pennies rolled off the presses that year. They were supposed to be ordinary. Another year, another batch of coins destined for grocery store counters and vending machines. But deep within that massive sea of copper-plated zinc, a small number of mistakes slipped through. And those mistakes would one day send shockwaves through the entire coin collecting world, because here's the secret: the rarest 1990 pennies carry microscopic details that separate them from the billions of ordinary cents. These details are so small that most people never notice them. They spend them, they drop them, they let them sit in jars collecting dust. But one man, one ordinary collector, noticed. And what happened next stunned everyone. He was sifting through rolls of pennies, the kind you and I might ignore as loose change. At first, nothing stood out. Just coin after coin, dull and worn. But then, something about the D mint mark looked different. Slightly misplaced. Tilted. Stronger in strike than the others. He paused, leaned closer, and his heart raced as he realized this was no ordinary penny. What he held in his hand would later go on to sell for over $2 million. Imagine that. A single cent, transformed into life-changing wealth. What makes this 1990 penny worth more than most people's houses? The answer lies in minting errors and die varieties so rare, they almost never surface. Some 1990 pennies were struck with experimental dies, others show doubling in the lettering or misaligned mint marks, and a few carry weight and composition anomalies from the transition years. These subtle quirks, invisible to the casual eye, are the very reasons collectors pay fortunes for what looks like an ordinary coin. These pennies are still out there. Dealers whisper about them. Collectors chase them. And yet, millions of Americans unknowingly let them slip through their fingers every single day. But the real twist came at auction. When the first of these rare 1990 pennies crossed the block, even seasoned experts didn't expect much. Yes, they knew it was rare. Yes, they knew a few collectors would bid. But when the gavel fell at a price soaring into the millions, the room went silent. Shock turned to applause. And overnight, the 1990 penny became legend, and yet, the story doesn't end there. Because for every known example, there could be more hidden in change jars, sealed in rolls, tucked away in forgotten drawers. Which means the next discovery could belong to you. Think about it. You buy a cup of coffee, and the cashier hands you change. You glance at the pennies without a thought. But what if one of them holds the very mistake that transforms it into a fortune? That's how life-changing this coin can be. Collectors have called it the ultimate hidden treasure. Dealers have described it as lightning in a bottle. And for those who found one, it's been nothing short of a miracle. Because when a 1-cent coin suddenly becomes a ticket to $2.1 million, everything changes. But let me ask you, how do you know if the penny in your pocket is one of these? The answer is in the details. Look closely at the mint mark. On rare examples, the D can appear off-center, slightly doubled, or unusually sharp compared to the rest of the coin. Study the date 1990. On some, the numbers show faint doubling or distortions. And don't forget the weight. Some transitional errors were struck on older copper planchets, making them heavier than ordinary zinc pennies. That difference alone can be worth a fortune. Most people ignore these signs. They see just another penny. But you now know the secret that separates the ordinary from the extraordinary, and here's the chilling truth: the rarest 1990 pennies weren't intentionally made. They're the accidents of history, mistakes that slipped past the watchful eyes of the US Mint, waiting decades for someone like you to uncover them. Every time you empty your pockets. Every time you roll coins for the bank. Every time you see a penny lying forgotten on the ground. Ask yourself, could this be the one? Could this be the coin that changes everything? Collectors have spent lifetimes chasing treasures like this. But destiny favors the prepared. And now you know what to look for. So study your coins. Inspect every 1990 penny with a D mint mark. Weigh them. Magnify them. Don't let the chance of a lifetime slip through your fingers, because the next 1990 penny discovered could easily bring in over $2 million. And the one person who finds it, the one person who notices what everyone else missed, will see their life transformed in an instant. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost slipped through history unnoticed, but one collector's discovery shocked the world when it sold for nearly $2 million. And here's the twist: it was a 1972 no mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny, the kind most people toss into a jar without thinking twice. Now imagine this. A coin so ordinary, so plain, that for decades it sat quietly in circulation, until one man looked a little closer. What he found forever changed the way collectors view the pennies of 1972. At first glance, it looks like every other copper coin from the era. Lincoln's familiar profile. The memorial reverse. No mint mark under the date. Just a simple penny. But buried in its details lies a secret that could turn pocket change into a fortune. Collectors are stunned when they see the truth, because this coin, struck in Philadelphia in 1972, carries one of the most dramatic doubling errors in U.S. coinage history. And that tiny flaw, the kind most people would never notice, is the reason a single penny can be worth up to $2.3 million today. But here's where the story gets even more unbelievable. Back in the early 1970s, the U.S. Mint was working at full speed. Billions of pennies were struck, flooding into circulation. Quality control was strict, but in rare cases, the dies used to strike coins slipped out of alignment. When that happened, the design doubled, letters thickened, dates split, details blurred yet sharpened in eerie ways. Most flawed dies were caught. But not all, and one die in Philadelphia escaped detection. The result? A batch of 1972 no-mint mark pennies that looked just a little strange. The word Liberty showed an eerie doubling. The date 1972 itself appeared as if stamped twice by some ghostly hand. And the phrase, "In God We Trust," shimmered with doubled lines under the right light. Collectors didn't notice at first. These coins slipped quietly into circulation, clinking in piggy banks, rattling in pockets, spent at grocery stores for candy bars and chewing gum. For years, nobody cared, but then, a sharp-eyed collector spotted one. And what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Suddenly, word spread that a common penny from 1972, worth 1 cent, could actually be worth thousands. Dealers scrambled. Collectors rushed to check their change jars. Auctions exploded with bidding wars. And as time went on, the most flawless examples, still gleaming with original mint luster, began selling for staggering sums. One pristine coin shocked the market when it climbed past 6 figures. Another shattered records, nearing $2 million. And whispers in the collecting community began to swirl. Could one of these coins, in the right condition, actually reach $2.3 million? The answer is yes. And that possibility keeps collectors awake at night. But here's the part that most people miss: the 1972 penny was struck in massive numbers. Billions. That means the chances of finding one in circulation, while slim, are not impossible. In fact, lucky discoveries still surface to this day. A man in Illinois found one while rolling up change from his dresser. A woman in Ohio spotted hers while teaching her grandson about coins. Both stories ended the same way, with life-changing money for what looked like a worthless cent. And yet, there's more to this mystery. You see, not all doubling is valuable. Many coins show machine doubling, a flat, shelf-like effect that collectors dismiss as worthless. The real treasure lies in what's called a true doubled die. And the 1972 no-mint mark penny has one of the boldest doubled dies ever created. That's why it commands such respect and such fortune on the open market. But the danger is this: many people mistake ordinary coins for the jackpot. They sell them cheap, not realizing they held $1 million miracle in their hands. Imagine it. A penny tossed into a tip jar, a penny dropped in a parking lot, a penny buried in the couch cushions, and yet, that single coin could have paid off mortgages, erased debts, even changed a family's future. Collectors were shocked when the truth came out. Dealers couldn't believe their eyes. The story of the 1972 penny became one of the great legends of American numismatics, and here's a cliffhanger most people don't know: there isn't just one variety. Several different doubled dies appeared in 1972, but only the most dramatic, the one with clear doubling in Liberty and In God We Trust, reaches the $1 million level. Others are rare too, but only this variety holds the power to stun collectors at auction. Think about that. 2 coins from the same year, the same mint, the same design, and one is worth a single cent while the other could be worth $2.3 million, and the difference is just a fraction of a millimeter. That's why collectors say the 1972 no-mint mark penny is both a blessing and a curse. A blessing, because it offers ordinary people the chance at extraordinary wealth. A curse, because it hides in plain sight, waiting for only the sharpest eyes to uncover it. But let's reset for a moment. Would you sell it right away, cashing in for a life-changing payday? Or would you hold on to it, knowing that each year, the value climbs higher and higher as fewer flawless examples remain? this is the dilemma collectors face. And it's why stories of the 1972 penny continue to spark headlines decades later. Picture it. The auction room is silent. A single coin rests under the spotlight. The bidding begins. 10,000. 50,000. 100,000. The crowd murmurs, gasps, rises to their feet as the numbers soar. And when the hammer falls, 1 cent has become a fortune. This is not fiction. This is history, and here's how you can tell if you have one. Take out your pennies from 1972. Look closely at the date. If the numbers appear doubled, like shadows stamped over themselves, you may be holding something extraordinary. Next, check the word liberty. Strong, clear doubling means you're on the right track. Finally, examine In God We Trust. If those letters seem to ripple, as if struck twice, you could be staring at a treasure worth far more than face value, but beware. Machine doubling is common and worth little. True doubled dies have thick, distinct separations, not flat shadows. That tiny difference separates a worthless cent from a coin worth over $1 million. So don't toss your change. Don't ignore that jar on the dresser. Don't assume your pennies are worthless, because somewhere, hidden in plain sight, a 1972 no-mint Mark Lincoln Memorial penny is waiting. And for the lucky person who finds it, that single coin could be the miracle they never thought possible. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but when it finally surfaced, it shook the entire coin collecting world. A simple Lincoln penny from 1994, struck in Denver, carrying a tiny D-mint mark that most people would never give a second glance. Yet some of these ordinary-looking coins have sold for life-changing amounts, up to $1.8 million. How could a coin that's supposed to be worth just 1 cent turn into a millionaire's treasure? The answer lies in a story of mistakes, secrets, and shocking discoveries hiding in plain sight. A man pays for coffee with pocket change, never realizing he's just handed over a fortune. Another collector, digging through rolls of pennies from the bank, stumbles on a coin that looks just a little off. That's how many of these rare 1994 Lincoln pennies are discovered by accident. And yet, when the truth comes out, those accidents become headlines. What could possibly turn a 1994 Denver penny into a piece worth more than houses, cars, even retirement savings? The answer is chilling, because it was never supposed to happen. Back in 1994, the U.S. Mint was producing billions of pennies. Copper-plated zinc coins rolled off the presses at incredible speed, with precision that most people would assume leaves no room for error. But in reality, errors slip through, and when they do, they become legends. Some of the 1994 pennies were struck on the wrong planchets. Others came out with dramatic double dies, where Lincoln's profile or the lettering appears doubled, like a ghostly shadow. And some were struck so sharply off-center, it's a miracle they escaped the mint. All of these errors are not just quirks. They're treasures. Dealers whisper about them at shows, collectors trade stories like urban legends. Because when one of these error coins surfaces at auction, the bids climb higher and higher and higher until jaws drop. But what happened next stunned even veteran numismatists. One specific 1994 penny with a dramatic and unmistakable double die obverse crossed the auction block. To the naked eye, it looked like a normal coin, but under the right light, Lincoln's profile appeared doubled, almost like a ghost hovering on the coin. Collectors went wild. Bidding escalated past 6 figures, then 7. When the hammer finally fell, this tiny 1-cent piece sold for over $1 million. And not just once, multiple examples, in pristine condition, have stunned the market, with the most shocking sale soaring up to $1.8 million. Think about that. A coin you could easily spend without thinking, turning into a generational fortune. Not every 1994 penny is valuable. In fact, billions are still just worth 1 cent. The key lies in those rare, almost mythical errors. The double dies, the off-metal strikes, the minting flaws so subtle that only a careful eye or pure luck will uncover them. And here's where the story gets even stranger. Some of these million-dollar pennies weren't found by professional dealers or seasoned experts. They were found by ordinary people. A teenager searching through change on his desk. A retiree rolling pennies from a jar in the garage. A woman at a flea market who bought a box of coins for a few dollars, only to later discover a 1994 error penny hiding inside. Every one of these stories drives home a chilling truth: treasures this rare aren't locked away in museums. They're out there, in circulation, waiting to be spotted by someone who knows what to look for. First, check the mint mark. The D under the date tells you it came from Denver, the variety most collectors are hunting. Next, look carefully at the lettering, especially Liberty and the phrase, "In God We Trust." On valuable double die examples, these letters look thicker, doubled, or shadowed. It's a dead giveaway, but only if you're paying attention. Another clue hides in the date itself. On some 1994 D double dies, the numbers look slightly blurry or distorted, like two images overlapping. That tiny detail is what separates a penny worth 1 cent from one worth more than $1 million, and don't forget the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial on the back. On some error coins, parts of the columns are doubled, tilted, or uneven. Even the faintest flaw could mean the difference between pocket change and life-changing money, but here's the twist that keeps collectors on edge: counterfeiters know this coin's value. Fake double dies and altered pennies flood online markets, trying to fool hopeful buyers. That's why expert grading is essential. Only authenticated, certified examples have reached the $1 million mark, and those are the coins that turn dreams into reality. Still, the possibility is enough to keep collectors searching. Imagine sitting at your kitchen table, dumping out a jar of coins you've been ignoring for years. Your fingers slide across dozens of ordinary pennies, until one coin catches your eye. Something looks strange. The lettering isn't quite right. You hold it closer, your heart racing. Could it be? Could this be the one that is the thrill that drives the hunt? That is why coin shows buzz with excitement, why collectors spend hours combing through change, and why the 1994 D Lincoln penny remains one of the most electrifying discoveries of modern numismatics. And here's the most powerful part of this story: the next $1 million penny hasn't been found yet. It could be in a bankroll waiting for someone to open. It could be resting in a dresser drawer, forgotten for decades. It could be sitting right now in your pocket. Every coin has a story. And some stories can change your life forever. If you find a 1994 penny with the Denver mint mark, don't ignore it. Hold it under a bright light, check the lettering, the date, and Lincoln's profile. Look for doubling, distortion, or strange shadows. If you see something unusual, protect that coin and have it examined by a professional grader, because this isn't just a hobby. For some, it's a miracle. A miracle that turns copper-plated zinc into a key worth $1 million or more. And here's the truth that will keep you awake tonight: this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million.